Happy Friday, everyone. Jason Gilbo here at JGilbo11, running through tonight's 14-game slate, looking for some stacking options. There's a lot tonight, a lot to like, a lot of high totals. We got cores, we got bad pitching, we got good pitching. Going to be looking through and look at some value stacks as well. We'll start here first. We'll kind of run through the line of games. Baltimore, Los Angeles, Jeremy Hellickson versus Andrew Heaney. A little bit of weather, but unlike the other games, this one should clear out by the game time, so it should be okay. If it lingers around a little bit, that might drop ownerships down a little bit. I don't mind stacking both sides of this one. I'm usually not a big fan of stacking the Angels, but I'm kind of intrigued with, Ben Revere, Mike Trout, Pujols, Cole Calhoun against Jeremy Hellickson, who is a guy who just doesn't miss a lot of bats. He's just an intriguing play overall just because of this ballpark. Hellickson, 329 WOBA to righties, 327 WOBA to lefties, over 200 ISO allowed to both. Right around a 14% strikeout rate against both sides of the plate. He's not a ground ball guy either. So, Calhoun hasn't obviously had the best of year, but he gets a bump in this ballpark. Pujols, same thing. Obviously an over the hill first baseman, but still plenty of pop there. Mike Trout, doesn't need much explaining there, but these are not bad bats right now in this spot, and I think the Angels will obviously go overlooked on this slate. And obviously Mike Trout's your more expensive one, but everyone else is pretty cheap. So Angels stack is actually a value one on tonight's slate that I am looking at going up against Hellickson. So. In this ballpark, with the warm weather, going up against Hellickson, I think it's a plausible place to stack Angels for once. So, on the other side, Baltimore, I like 1 through 4. I think Tim Beckham leading off is obviously a big addition to this lineup. Beckham, Machado, Scope, Jones, Mancini. Trumbo, 1 through 6 really here. Take your pick. They're not overly priced. Machado's your more expensive one. Going up against Heaney, obviously. Heaney's not a bad lefty, making his first start this season. He's been injured. Not sure how long he's going to go. Both these, all 4 or 5 of those guys also hit righties well too. So it's not like, once you get the righty in there, they're all useless. So Baltimore's a decent spot for me to look tonight. 1 through 5, I think there's a decent amount of options with upside. And in that ballpark, near a 5.5 run total for them should be plenty to go around. So. Next one, Dodgers and Tigers. Dodgers on the road, going up against Jordan Zimmermann and this Detroit bullpen. This is definitely a spot where, Dodgers are going to be a pretty popular team tonight. Except I kind of look and go, maybe not. Looking at a 14-game slate with James Shields in Texas, with R.A. Dickey, with Coors, Ian Kennedy, a lot of bad arms going tonight. So, maybe actually not. You're going to get a ton of ownership on these guys. So maybe things will be pretty spread out, especially at their prices. But back to the Dodgers here. Jordan Zimmermann, 381 WOBA to lefties this year, 351 WOBA to righties. Fly ball pitcher, once again, he's kind of basically Jeremy Hellickson, except he's given up a lot more base runners. Doesn't strike out anyone. Below a 17% strikeout rate against both sides of the plate. Hard contact rates up. Zimmerman's been a bottom 10 pitcher this year. So, obviously Chris Taylor, Corey Seager, Justin Turner, Cody Bellinger, Yasmani Grandal. I don't even mind throwing in Jock if you want to get contrarian. They're on the expensive side. You're going to have to pay down to pitching to get these guys in. And that's kind of a contrarian move to go with tonight. So ballpark, it's not really a huge upgrade going to Detroit, but looks like the wind is blowing out, fairly warm, near 6 run total there for LA. They're definitely a top stack on tonight's slate for sure. So. Moving elsewhere, we'll go to Atlanta here, and Atlanta. I'm actually looking to stack tonight. They're one to get overlooked. I know Dickey's on the other side. You can look to stack Cincinnati just because he has his blow-ups, but I'm actually looking at the Atlanta side here. Sal Romano is one of the poor pitchers on the slate. 409 WOBA to righties, 350 WOBA to lefties. Inciarte, Phillips, Freeman, Markakis, Flowers. All an interesting group there, especially on tonight's slate, because they offer up a decent amount of value. All their prices have come back down since Coors. About a 5-run total. This ballpark is very, very friendly for lefty power, and we've seen that quite a bit. So I don't mind going with Atlanta as kind of a contrarian stack tonight, and I don't think a lot of people will. Texas is the next big ballpark here that we're looking at. James Shields on the hill. That obviously sets up a lot of bats here for Texas. 1 through 9 very much in play for me. He's really struggled against lefties this year. 444 WOBA, 350 ISO. Obviously, Chu, Mazzara, Gallo, Adore, but even DeShields, even Andrus, Beltre, Mazzara, Chirinos. Those are all intriguing options on this slate. The lefties obviously have a ton of power. Collective 242 ISO, 341 WOBA. There's just a ton of upside against Shields here. When you look at the run totals, I mean, Texas is number one on the night, beating out Coors. Their, implied total are nearly 7. Given the fact that it's 93 degrees in this ballpark with James Shields pitching a fly ball pitcher, it makes a lot of sense to get Texas and have them be a core. And some of those guys are not, too badly priced in the back end. Chu, Adore, Chirinos are fairly cheap. Napoli, Gallo, Mazzara, Beltre, Andrus, those are obviously your more expensive bats just because they've actually been performing a little bit better of late. So they're priced up quite a bit, but I don't think they're going to be crazy high owned, 25+%, 20+%. I still think you're going to get them around 15 to 18. So it's not that bad on tonight's slate. So. Outside of that, though, I mean, we get to Coors. It's, obviously your next best stacking option. That's probably going to wrap it up where we look tonight just because the West Coast games I'm not really looking at a ton. Looking at Colorado, obviously Matt Garza's, a guy you want to exploit. Hasn't been bad against righties this year, but he's been pretty average. Lefties is where he has his trouble. So Blackman, Park, Gonzalez, I don't mind. But obviously LeMahieu, Arenado have just as much upside as anyone. This really isn't a stack that I need to go too much into detail with. So we'll kind of move to Milwaukee here. Marquez, obviously, is a guy who struggles a little bit in Coors, as anyone would. He's not that bad of an option. Obviously, you can look at guys like VR, Thames, Braun, Shaw, and kind of feel pretty good. Neil Walker is obviously a nice addition to this lineup, being another lefty they can toss in. So Walker, all these guys outside of VR they just mentioned, over 200 ISO against righties this year, and tossing them in Coors isn't a bad option. So the one thing to note is you get some of these guys at a pretty good discount. I mean, DraftKings, Neil Walker's only 4.5. That's cheap for Coors. Sean and Bra are expensive, but Thames, VR, both in the 4.5, 4.3 range. So I don't think that's a bad option to go with. On FanDuel, I don't even think they're all that expensive either because, VR, Thames are both under 4K. Domingo Santana's under 4K. Manny Piña's 3-1 who can hit righties pretty well. So Milwaukee's obviously a good stack. The rental is not quite where I want it in Coors, but obviously on a slate that features a fairly weak pitching, you can look to go that route. So lots of options. Definitely Coors comes in as one of the higher ones, but when you kind of look, Dodgers and Texas are your more expensive stacks that you feel pretty good about. Atlanta, Baltimore, Los Angeles are kind of the lower owned stacks I'll be looking to go with tonight. So that's going to wrap it up with me. You can head over to DailyFantasyCafe.com, check out our tools and content.